All right, so for this week's project, we're going to be taking a look at this old Scott integrated amplifier. This is a model 480A, and I picked this up from my friend's shop last night. I was over there working and found out that it will be a few weeks before we get those pressure rollers returned for that Pioneer RT909 due to some backlog that they're having. So I decided that I'd find us another project for this week. And I haven't had a lot of Scott equipment in my resume over the years, and so I picked this out just based on the fact that I hadn't seen a lot of their stuff. And the customer invoice states that one channel is working and one channel is not working. So I'm not sure what we'll find there. It could be as simple as just some dirty controls, or there could be something a little bit more serious going on. But as always, we'll come in, we'll have a look at the controls and how they laid those out on the front, spin it around, have a look at the back of it, then we'll get it opened up and see if we can figure out what's going on. Our intro music this week, we're listening to Kansas's 1983 release, Drastic Measures. And of course, this would usher in John Elefante as the vocalist. Steve Walsh stepped away in the 80s for a while there. And this is the lead track from this record. This is called Fight Fire with Fire. So let's listen to a little bit of this, and then we'll get started on the Scott. All right, let's pick back up and we'll have a look at the controls they provided for us, starting on the left here. Up top, we do have a nice hard snapping mechanical power switch. Down below that will be your speaker selection between A, B, or A plus B. Headphone jack over to the right of that. Up above, we do have the power meters, and they're marking these at about 100 watts for this amplifier. And hopefully those aren't frozen in place, and we'll have to deal with that. We do have a tone switch, either variable or bypass, and this one does have all three, bass, treble, and mid-range, very popular back in the day. Have a protection light here, just in case you run into some amplifier trouble. That light will come on and you will hear no sound. We have a pretty oversized volume control. It's detinted, which is another very popular feature back then. And then they're going to take a page from Yamaha's design book here. Instead of dedicated tape monitors, you get a record selector, and it does have a dubbing feature on it for the two tape inputs on it. And then they're going to give you, for one of the phono inputs, phono 1, capacitance and impedance selectors. So if you have the spec sheet on your V15 or whatever cartridge you prefer, all that information would be in there. You could dial it directly in. Input selector, there's two phonos, as I said. So you get 1 and 2 here, followed by tuner, auxiliary, and then the tapes 1 and 2. Right below that, you got your stereo mono switch with some variations: reverse, normal, right, left, and then left plus right. Then you have something marked ACC input. On the back, there's a set of line in and line out jacks. I suppose this would be good for your equalizer if you wanted to use one in this input here. That would be fine for that, I guess. Loudness switch, followed by the subsonic and high filter switches. Balance control, no big deal. Let me go ahead and flip it around and we'll have a look at the back. All right, carrying on, picking up on the back side of it. Of course, you have your ground terminal for your phonos. And then you have phono 2 sensitivity, high or low. And then you have inputs for both phonos, followed by an auxiliary and a tuner. And then tape 1's in and out, and they have those labeled record and play. And then you have the accessory in and out, which we talked about, possibly for your equalizer or some other type of processor. Tape 2, they're going to give you a DIN connection there, and then of course the 4 standard RCAs. Push spring levers for the speaker inputs, A and B, giving you a lightning bolt there to kind of alert you to the fact that you're hooking up something critical. And then up here we have something marked output power, and I suppose that's some sort of limiter if you want to set it for a lower amount of power. They got it marked 85 watts and 55 watts. Got the old school fuse selector, and I did notice this. We do have a 3-prong grounded cord input there, but yet we only have a single cord with two prongs on it. So no grounded cord. A couple of AC outlets as well. And so that pretty much wraps it up. They do have a nice etched aluminum plate that has the serial number and then the brand name there. Woburn, Massachusetts. So let's go ahead and let's get the lid off of it and we'll take a peek on the inside. All right, we'll come back in. We'll take a look at the inside of the unit. Left-hand side, transformer and main filter caps. I did take a look on the other side here where you can see the value and the brand, and it has Panasonic's little emblem on the side of those. I'm going to imagine that the bridge rectifier is mounted underneath on that board right there. And coming up over here, find our amplifier section in a pretty little condensed area here, and just kind of scanning everything. I don't see anything burn up or blown apart, so that's always a good thing. It does use these NEC outputs. Let's see, what is this? 2SD 745, and I believe the one over here should be a 2SB 709 or a 705, something like that. Hopefully there isn't any issues with those, because those have long since been no longer available, but I do believe there is some substitute you can use for those. Coming down front, all of our controls are laid out very nice. You can seem to get to everything very well with no trouble. And then our top mounted input selector board and phono input board, all looking real good there. Got a few regulators there, probably want to look at those caps as well as a few others. See some jackets slid down here. Other than that, we have some blank space up underneath there where there isn't really anything. As for the front, I did see these meters here. I tapped on the cases. The needles did not move, so I don't know if that means they're just nice and stiff, accurate meters, or they are frozen in place. I guess we'll be finding out fairly shortly here. But other than that, it looks like everything's laid out very nice in case all we have is controls to be cleaned, including the volume control. They put slots in the volume control, making it easy to clean that too. So, all right, I guess the first step, let's get some speakers hooked up to this and see what it'll do, if anything. So give me a moment for that. Well, picking back up with you, and at least on the tuner input, both channels working very nicely. There is no issue, even with a dirty volume control. Volume control sounds real good. So does the tone controls. Balance is not cutting in and cutting out.
You want the best classic rock.
So I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, I'm not sure. As of right now, everything's working. So I guess the thing we should do, let's go ahead and run through all these inputs and make sure every one of them works on both channels. He may have been trying to use it on auxiliary, and maybe that one's cutting in and cutting out on one side. So I'll set you up in the tripod and we'll run through all the inputs on this thing. All right, so I'm picking back up with you. And I did go ahead and do just a little bit of tap sensitivity testing on this just to make sure we didn't have anything obviously loose, and it doesn't appear to be. We will pull the bottom off and have a look, but nothing obvious anyway. So let's go ahead and we'll run through the output, or excuse me, the inputs of this and check those. And we're on tuner now, so let's switch it over to auxiliary. Let's look at that. No cutting in or cutting out. All right, I guess the next one is tape 1, maybe. Let's shoot for that one. All right, how about tape 2? So far, rolling a 0 on duplicating a problem with one channel not working. All right, next thing we'll do, obviously, we're just gonna make sure that we do have a signal present on phono. We won't turn it up very loud. We just wanna make sure we have some very horrible distortion there on both channels. And we do. Let's try the second one. Yeah, no trouble there. Let's try the auxiliary, or excuse me, the accessory input and see what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know. It's working. So that's always a fun thing when you run into one that you can't duplicate the problem. So maybe there is something intermittent, or maybe you had a problem with a patch cord and you didn't know how to troubleshoot it. This was Kansas's No Place Like Home album recorded a few years back. I don't know, it sounds like a pretty strong amp. Doesn't seem to have any issues with anything cutting in and out on either channel on any input. So I guess the next thing we'll do, let's pull the bottom off of it and see if there's anything just obvious that jumps out. But if there was anything loose, you would think we might have been able to duplicate it by tapping on it. All right, let's get the bottom off and we'll see if there's anything that jumps out at us when we take a look at that. All right, coming back in with you. Went ahead and got the bottom cover off of the unit so we can kind of get a look at the solder side of the circuitry. And I've scanned this thing up and down and haven't really noticed anything. Bring you in a little closer here. The center section is where the amplifier is, obviously. And I'm seeing where some work has been done previously. It looks to me like it has been anyway. This all through here looks like it's been touched up after the fact. It could be factory, but irregardless, there isn't anything there that would throw up any red flags as to anything intermittent. I did notice something over here. Now, whether or not it would be something that would be causing an intermittent problem or not, I don't know. This thing is not going to focus. Or not going to focus very well anyway. But there's a transistor right there that definitely is kind of borderline. Notice that there's some solder on the actual output transistors themselves. It doesn't look all that great either. When I'm trying to do a tight focus, I really do miss my phone. My phone had a fantastic camera in it for up close focusing. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. All over here in the preamp, all of this looks perfectly fine. I'm not seeing anything here that looks like there'd be any kind of a problem. Tone control, volume control, all of that looks good. One thing I did notice here in the power supply though, to go along with those Panasonic caps, they use some Mitsubishi bridge rectifier diodes. So they must have got a deal on those from Mitsubishi. And even though there's some heat stress here, the other side of the board would indicate that there's not really any cold solder joints to be concerned with. So I don't know. I think the thing to do is I'm going to take it back to my friend's shop. We'll put it on the PA81 for a long burn for some observation and see if we can get it to do what the guy was complaining about, which was apparently one channel not working. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get the bottom put back on it. And we'll fire it up one last time before we put an end to this one. So give me a moment for that. Well, I guess as unsatisfying as it is, we're going to have to chalk this one up to unable to duplicate problem, or at least at this point anyway. But like I said, we'll take this back over to my friend's shop and we'll run it on the Syncor PA81. And then if any intermittent thing shows up, we'll have to go from that point. But as of now, it's working just fine. Very nice sound, or strong sounding amplifier actually. And I was totally wrong about the meters, both working perfectly. So as always, I want to thank you guys very much for checking out the video this week. And I believe next week we're going to have a viewer submitted unit. Guy's going to send a Pioneer dual cassette deck he wants looked at. And so we should have that here early in the week, Tuesday or Wednesday. And we'll probably have that slated up for next weekend's video. So on the way out, we'll check out a little bit more of this Kansas. This is from their There's No Place Like Home live album, probably about 10 years ago now. So let's check out a little bit of this on the way out.